Let's go. I'm Christopher Pitt, and welcome to the Pursuit to Own podcast. At Pursuit to Own, we are pursuing ownership at every level of life. Whether it's mindset, business, life, or real estate, our goal is to get you from renting to owning your future. See, I felt the pain of poverty growing up as a sharecropper in zip code 27843. I understand the struggle of living in a one-bedroom shack, owning nothing, not even running water. But I turned that pain into purpose by becoming a premier affordable housing community developer, providing 27,843 ownership opportunities in marginalized communities. Here's the truth. Ownership starts in your mind, regardless of your situation or location. Whether you are escaping the poverty trap, buying a home, or starting a business, the pursuit to own mindset is the key to unlocking your zip code and success. Join me to discuss new innovative ways to own real estate with tokenization, blockchain, crowdfunding, fractional ownership, and so much more. Let's go. Welcome back to the Pursuit to Own podcast, where we are teaching everybody to own life at every level. Guys, we have a great one today. The question we always get when you're starting your journey, and that question is, you can guess, how do you get started? Well, there's many ways to get started on your journey. The start similarly is the same. The journey can be different, right? Depending on where you're trying to go in life. Start-wise, as I gave you some of my story before, in the beginning, based on your, current life status, I would say socioeconomically, what communities you're in, what zip code are you in, right? Those lie the challenges you will face as you're trying to grow into the person you know you can be. For me, I was born in a very poverty-stricken zip code. Therefore, it was already external challenges I will face the day I was born. Literally the day I was born. And as you go through life, once you start to recognize those things, it's really easy to fall a prisoner to those things, right? You can really just make your life into a prison because you can't find a way out. It's like being in a building, right? It's dark, it's abandoned. Somebody gave you one key, but it's 100 locks you got to find in the dark, right? That's the type of courage you got to have when you're trying to fight out of those type of situations. So my advice is only from my perspective. My advice is how I got through it, and I hope this will land with a lot of people because I think it can apply to multiple situations. See, for me, I only had one way out, just like so many people you heard before, but it was football. But it was very different. My dreams and aspiration wasn't to be famous, wasn't to be rich. It was simply get my family out of poverty by all means necessary. That was it. What got me going on that journey was I started to face these challenges, right? So once I started facing the challenges and, letting life, start to weigh on me, there's different points where I could have gave up. These are some of the same points that many of you have faced, and maybe some of you guys are going through it right now. And I know it doesn't feel good when someone tell you, hey, just don't quit, right? Yeah, I understand that, but you're not in it, right? So it takes a person with a great mindset and desire to want to get through a bad situation, period. And a lot of that has been wrapped up in finding out quickly what is your why. Doesn't matter what industry you're in at all. Because once you identify something that's bigger than you will find your superpowers. That's right. You will find your superpowers because at that point, you know it's more than you. More people are depending on. Yeah, that's more stress, but it's that little thing that's going to give you that little, boost you need to get across that threshold, right? A lot of times people find the whys in their family, like myself. Some find whys in, for other things in life, just career growth. But the start is always the same. You have to commit. You have to commit. And when I say commit, committing meaning that you have to go and learn and be mentored and figure out a way to find the person you want to be. Now, things are getting a lot easier these days with YouTubes and things of that nature and all these things you can learn. But you have got to find a way to get around the person that you want to be one day. And I'm not talking about just from a materialistic standpoint. I'm talking about business, success, impact. That's what I'm talking about. What kind of person was able to provide this kind of impact that came out of a similar scenario to me? That's what you got to look for. That's the secret. But again, I get it. When you're going through it, you can't think clearly, right? Again, if you're in poverty, you're under duress 24/7. And once you're under duress, we don't make the best decisions, right? So we have to recognize that and we have to plan to keep moving forward. And that's the part people discount about the underdog, right? They don't know what it feels like knowing that you got to wake up every day and you got to push that boulder back up that hill because it fell back down last night. They don't know what that feels like. But they also don't know that you're going to get stronger and stronger every time you're pushing that boulder up that mountain. Your legs are starting to get strong. And each day, you're going to get further and further because you're training your body to adapt to the struggle and strengthen it to get you to the finish line. That's right. So when you are pushing up your boulders in life, you're training your body to get over that hump, right? That's what we're doing, right? If you're working out, you don't get stronger by just not working out. Doesn't happen. You have to put your body under duress to have muscle growth. It's the same thing mentally, right? You got to train your mind so it can develop a strength to get you through the hard times. That's the most important thing. If I could go back and tell myself what I needed to focus on, it would have been mindset. Now, mind you, I get it. When you're talking about power, and nobody want to talk about mindset, but here's the thing. It's a difference maker. It just is. It's the difference makers because at every point of your journey, there will be absolutely points where you can quit that day. They happen to me, they're happen to you. But you got to know when those challenges are approaching, those character building days are here. So that when you're in it, you just know you got to get to the next day and keep moving the ball forward. That's how this thing works, right? So, like, for all you out there that's interested in getting into real estate, that's my profession. That's what I do, right? There's multiple ways to do that. For me, the thing I think people completely get wrong, I mean, just completely miss the mark is about having a job. I hear so many times about leave your job, burn the boat. I get it. There's a point, there's a time for that, but it's not for everybody. If you're first generation and you have no mentors in your life, you have no capital, you have no partnership opportunities yet, you're not known at all, you haven't displayed your skills to the world, that ain't the best advice for you. We got to get to the point where you're willing to invest in yourself and learn the skill to do the thing, right? That's how this thing works. So for me, and this is advice to anyone out there listening that isn't working and thinking about what they're doing, treat your job as your first partner. Treat your job as your first mentor, right? So, and also identify organizations that have skills or in the profession that you would like to build one day. Why would you want to do that? You're getting up close and personal in how to run that business. You're seeing under the hood and you're getting paid for it, right? And you getting paid for it. But here's what it would do for you if you approach your job in this way. To get started, again, we're talking about how do you get started? Because here's what I have done, and I thought played great dividends for me as we got to this point in my career. I didn't choose all jobs just for the highest salary. I chose it for the best value skill that I can learn. Got that? I did not choose a job because of a high salary. I chose it for a valuable skill. What does that mean? That means that I looked at all organizations within real estate, from residential to commercial, and I went to see who does this well. Right? I went to an affordable housing development organization. Was a great organization because I knew that was my future. I started there. And, I can tell you now, I made $30,000, guys. We're talking about 8 years ago. That was my salary. 32, I think I got up to, but I didn't care because my mission wasn't there to get rich and stay there forever. My mission was to learn this skill and get extremely great at it, because every time you do that, it makes you more valuable. See, that salary that they start you off with, you never can't outpace that unless you are becoming extremely skilled at what you do. Now, I can't change that starting salary, but I can get paid a lot more for that new skill I just learned. See where this is going, right? That's what I did over a 10-year period. 10-year period, right? I put my head down. I tucked in my pride, right? Because I'm not telling you it wasn't, it was easy. It was not easy. It was very strategic, right? It was very strategic. I stayed at places 2, 3 years, left on awesome terms, talked to all of these organizations still to this day, right? Because I actually provide a lot of value for those organizations as well. It wasn't a take situation at all. So when you're looking at these new jobs and you know that you are thinking about exiting, right? You want to leave the W-2 status world, right? Which I think everybody should, at least have some form of business and work on that path to get you going in your small business, right? You can start thinking about it, and what would I need to learn to be successful at the business I want to start? Because if you can't pay for like these high-end masterminds and things that are out there for these top-notch people, this gives you an opportunity to get in at a lower entry point and also have benefit by working there, by getting paid and understanding and seeing the problems in front of you in real life. So I don't suggest, if you're first generational and you just starting out, I'm not a burn the boat kind of guy from the start. Now, once you have equipped yourself with enough skill that you have increased your value, and how would you know that? Because once you start to put your resume out to other organizations on this journey, you're going to see that bump in salary, right? You're going to see who's interested. Well, they like you personally, but they talking to you because what you can do. They're having this conversation because you are listing skills, new skills on your resume that will align with the things they need to do in their business. So now you're becoming more attractive, right? So, and that delta can go quickly, right? Because I knew who I was as a person. I scaled from being a property manager all the way up to being a senior director in big time organizations, right? So big, they wanted me to stay and wanted to promote me, but I didn't say no because this is my path forward. I was very strategic with that, right? So it's not the salary, it's the skill. That's what we got to start understanding on our growth trajectory, right? We got to get out of get me this dollar today because that dollar today is already decreasing as soon as you get it, right? And you can't, you just can't multiply enough dollars in a fixed time and a fixed rate environment as a W-2. The only way that you can really hit generational wealth is figuring out a way that you can build something on the side. That can be either a product, a business, what have you, that generates income without you performing the actual task, right? And the greatest thing we have now is content creation. What I'm doing here with you today, right? You document all this stuff. And what that does is it brings in people on that journey with you. You're seeing me start this off. This is episode 2. You're going to see a lot more information coming out about my company, but I'm building this in real time. Now, I promise you, this one will be built a lot faster than the other 4 or 5 companies I have in my companies of family at this point. And it's going to be more impactful because I know my purpose is completely different. But again, guys, that took me 15 years. That was a lot of failures, just falling forward. And you have to understand that it is your life at the end of the day. You have one of them. If you are in a situation or a job, I'm telling you now that if you don't like, it is skill related. And here's the other thing we have to think about. All the skills are now changing. So the skills you needed 5 years ago may not be so great today. Why? We have AI. We have all kinds of things. That's a lot of people that made money because they did that skill very well. So now, not only do you got to skill up, you got to find something that is recession proof, right? Against all things, even AI. What can you get really good at that AI can't take you out, but maybe assist you in what you can do in your life? Again, that's why I like real estate, right? I like the opportunity to own assets because those assets I know is going to produce for me. It's simply math at some point. That first 1 or 2 is struggling, right? You're struggling to get going. But once you start getting a portfolio, it's literally becomes more math and more feasible because you have economies of scale at that point. So you can hire the right people, make the right capital, planning activities, and really treat it like the business that it is. Now I know ain't no AI going to change no toilets. They're not going to deal with tenants. They're not showing up to collect rent. So as of right now, it's one of those opportunities that's it will be around for a while to get good at it. Now it takes a lot of skill, but this is about just getting started. So what I am saying today to get started, even if you're struggling, figure out what is your bigger purpose in life. That's easier said than done. I completely understand because for me, it took almost, I got slapped so many times by life that I finally woke up. Right. And that's what it's going to feel like to you. And what you're going to be shocked by it's been the thing that's been in your face the entire time. It's literally is a thing that you think is holding you back that's in your face all the time is the thing that's going to break you through. That's a fact. So real estate is extremely, extremely important for anyone first generation. I don't care what the news media say, right? You cannot tell me when you look at a graph and you see the net worth of people that rent and the net worth of people that own don't have anything to do with it. And now home ownership is a bad thing. Why? And you know what's funny about all of it is? The people that are around here telling you not to buy a home are the people that bought homes. That's how they started their career. Think about that. Because what happens is that was at that time, and still we trying to keep it there, even though prices are extremely high. That is your first opportunity for most people like me to create any type of wealth. Meaning that money in your sleep, meaning that all I do is live here like I've had done for years and pay my payment like I've done for years. But it's not rent, it's now mortgage. And over a course of time, based on your location, you are gaining appreciation and you are slowly paying down that mortgage. And that beautiful thing called equity starts to happen, right? That's what you don't get in renting, right? To be able to live and do the same thing. I mean, you are still in that same community. Why are you not owning if you're willing to stay there and rent there for 5 years? Why would you not buy something and create equity? So when you do decide you want to leave that community, you have the financial ability to choose where you want to be. And it might just be back in that community, but at least you have an opportunity to choose. And that's what this thing is about, guys. If you keep playing at the bottom, you're never going to rise. I've seen it too many times. We have to make hard decisions. Now, for me, I think being able to eat is a very hard decision, right? When you're hungry, that's a very, when you're trying to run around and scrape up money or whatever to eat, that's very hard, right? But when I'm telling you that we have to get clear on this, if you are renting and you have your family in a community for 5 years plus, it should not be that hard of a decision to decide to own in that community. Flat out. That does 2 things. A, that provides you with your first opportunity with wealth. That provides you with your first opportunity to write off interest on your tax returns. Right? What it also does is, and you can go into any community, if rentership is high, normally in marginalized community, that's when resources are lacking. The more we move the needle towards home ownership, guess what happened, guys? Amazingly, more resources come to your community. Why? Because now your tax dollars paying for better schools, better infrastructure, and all this other stuff. You don't get that benefit from renting. And look, we are renting has a space for everybody, but the goal should never be to rent forever. But if you're gonna keep waiting and waiting and waiting, you're never gonna own. Never. And that's disheartening, right? Because time, it's just real estate is a long-term investment. You ain't gotta trust me on it. Do your own research. Over the course of time, decades and decades, yeah, there has been financial, uh, meltdowns. I was part of them, right? But at the end of the day, real estate continues to appreciate even when they drop. significantly. It's just a matter of time. These are long-term hoes. These are long-term hoes. So what I will leave this group with is decide if ownership in your community is something you should look into. I mean, really sit with that. For two reasons I say that, because A, if you're already paying rent, and that means you're paying a comparable mortgage payment, guaranteed. I bet you with today's rents are sky high. If you're paying that rent, you have the financial ability to get a mortgage, to pay that mortgage payment. Now we got to get you financially bankable, so a bank would give you the, the loan to get you the home ownership, but still you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And it starts in your mind and understanding your why. So as we cap things off today, I want to make it extremely clear that I want you to start to evaluate your life. And if you are considering starting a small business, you are considering owning real estate. If you are first generational and you don't have the money to go out and buy high ticket mentorship, right at this time, treat your job as your partner, treat your job as your mentor until you're able to set a course to exit. And when you're on this journey, trust me on this one, when you start looking at jobs, if you're in that frame of mind, that strategic frame of mind, you're not going to be looking at it for just solely how much money can I make. You're going to be looking at it for the skill, and you're going to understand if I get that skill, the money I can make is unlimited. That's what I want to teach you guys today. Stop looking for just the salary. Start looking for the skill that'll create wealth for you and your family. That's it. Once you start looking at things like that, life starts to get easier because you're clear. You're clear on where you're going. And when you're clear on where you're going, these decisions are not monumental because these are short term. These are small wins to your big win, right? I work here 2 years. I work here 3 years. By this time, I will have enough skill. I have made enough connections in this industry to make impact on my business when I started, right? You have an awesome opportunity to literally get out there, know who are the players in this space, and you can build relationships with them. That is what I would do if I was you. That is my advice for you. If you're just starting out and you want to know how you can get into real estate, the first thing I would tell you is figure out a way to buy your first home. And you can always, you know, reach out to a Pursuit to Own because we specialize in that, right? But if you're not just looking at your first home, your first business, principles still apply. Figure out who's doing what you're doing, or better yet, figure out the gap that everybody missed in that industry and spend the time to understand the business. And you will be on your way to create wealth for you and your family. That's wrapping things up today. This has been an open episode. As we keep this thing going, we're going to keep it more of a series base. We're going to have different topics, and we have part 1, part 2, part 3. But, these are the first couple of episodes. So we're just getting out the beginning journey, a little founder story, some of how you get started part. But we're looking to make impact. So if anyone out here, if you got anything from this today, all I ask is that you can send this to someone who may need it, like, or subscribe to our YouTube. We're going to be giving away so much information because here's the thing. I can give you all the information, and I plan to on my platforms. But what you're going to need me for is execution. That's what people don't get. You got to be able to execute in every environment. And I know that journey better than all, right? That's what I probably do best. And that ain't in a book. You can't put that in a book. That's only through experience. So again, it's been great. Welcome to the Pursuit to Own podcast. We have another episode coming next week. Please support the team. As always, stay in pursuit. Let's go. Thank you for listening to the Pursuit to Own podcast. If today's episode inspired you, don't stop here. Take the next step toward owning your future. Visit pursuittoown.com to sign up and join our growing community of wealth builders. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Pursuit to Own for updates, tips, and success stories. Together, we're turning dreams into assets. Until next time, stay in pursuit.